Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knightmare Talks. Once again, I'm Aaron.
I am Chase.
Today we are going to be doing part 2 to the Sasquatch Phenomenon. We did have an episode of that a couple episodes ago, and we had some people asking us, hey, when are you guys going to do part 2? So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to focus a movie called Exist. It came out in 2014. It's you can find it on Tubi.
Yep.
You can find it on YouTube, I believe. Yep. You can probably find it on anyway, Fire Stick, whatever. You can find anything on that. It is a lesser-known Bigfoot movie, but at the same time, there's not a lot of Bigfoot movies out there. So
not good ones. There's Bigfoot movies, and if you get on Tubi, and that's the one you decide to use, there's a multitude of different Bigfoot movies. But I will say that this one is by far the best one I have seen.
I agree. There are some really stupid Bigfoot movies out there. Bigfoot in New York.
Dude, we watched
Bigfoot in
one
space.
That was like something stupid. It was like Ninja Bigfoot or Bigfoot Ninja.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of stupid ones.
It was something stupid.
But you know what? Rotten Tomatoes only gave it a 33%. You know, Rotten Tomatoes pisses me off a lot because they give movies that I really like really low ratings, and then they give movies that are just crap, they give them really good scores. So,
dude, I always wonder how they hire for that job. Like, how do they select the people to be like, all right, you're gonna be a movie reviewer? Because is it just a one-person process where they review the movie and it's based on their opinion and they speak for Rotten Tomato?
I think so. I mean, you look at like Cisco and Ebert, like they used to piss me off all the time too. It's like, how do they not like that freaking movie? Like, who pays these guys?
Such a rookie, bro.
Get you a bib?
Yeah, dude. Freaking get me a sippy cup.
So back to Exist. If you guys have seen it before, let us know what you thought. If not, check it out. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
No. Hold on. Let me help you here. This was a great movie. And I know I say that a lot. And we tend to say that a lot about a lot of our movies. But the storyline of this movie, given Aaron and myself, we believe in Bigfoot. Regardless, we've never seen it. We've never had an experience. But we believe in it. So, this movie starts out five kids, like five teenagers, college kids, going out to stay in a cabin that they're not supposed to, in the middle of the woods, and they're driving out there in the middle of the night.
East Texas.
That's it.
East Texas.
They hit a baby Sasquatch on the way out there.
Big mistake.
They don't realize that's what they hit. And then mom or dad soon wreak havoc afterwards.
Yeah, like, how do you know it was a mom or a dad? Did you see a penis flopping around and it was running?
Honestly, so look at all found footage, or not found footage, but footage of Bigfoot sightings. Mm-hmm. When's the last time you saw a female Sasquatch?
Roger Patterson film was a female. She had some big floppy titties that were...
That's man boobs. That's man boobs. Those
could have been man boobs.
Those are not titties.
I still think it was a female. I'd like to believe it was female because I didn't see any genitalia bouncing around when it was running.
You're trying to say that the first documented footage of Bigfoot was a female?
You know, to keep it politically correct on this channel, we're just going to say that it could be a female or a male. It could be a transgender.
Dude, their fur covering within that area, like, it hides everything. You don't see anything. They stay pretty private, if you will.
I don't know. I mean, if it's supposed to be human-like, it's got to have something down there.
Oh, I'm sure it does if you're up close, but...
They need that manscaper. Dude, the manscaper, at least we'll be able to identify him a little bit better.
You know how funny that would be if Sasquatch from, like, the beef jerky commercial was the Manscaped person?
Sorry, we have derailed. Dude, oh my God.
I'm just saying, that's such a good idea, though. Like, you take
a great Sasquatch,
commercial. Like, that's solid.
Why isn't you know what?
Great idea.
Yeah. Manscaper, you guys can go ahead and use that.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
And a little bit of money my way, we're good.
Yeah. Free Manscapers, whatever.
I'm down, yeah. Down, dude.
Good Lord, we go off the deep end a lot. I do apologize for that.
Anyway,
it is what it is.
We'll reel it back in real quick. So, Aaron, we got to do this. 1 to 10, how are we rating this movie? Go.
Putting me on the spot here.
Yes.
Chase, I'm gonna give this movie I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8 because. For a Bigfoot movie, because there's most of the Bigfoot movies out there are just garbage and trash and just really freaking stupid. I think it was very, very, very good, but I really wish that they had maybe some better known actors in there. Anytime you have a movie with like college kids, there's always 1 or 2 of them that are just dumb as a rock and they're just super freaking annoying. You're like, okay, something kill them already. because I don't want to listen to them anymore. And I felt like that movie kind of had that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt like the Bigfoot in the movie was done very well. I thought the action in the movie was good, and I thought the movie overall was pretty good. Like, it's definitely one of the better Bigfoot movies of all time. So
what I'm hearing right now, and just so we're understanding,
you got that look in your face.
you're saying that Sasquatch did everything it needed to do within this film and killed the people it needed to kill that just happened to be retarded college kids. And you're telling me you're only going to give this movie an 8?
Because I didn't know if it was a girl or a boy. No.
That brings a whole another laundry list of topics.
If I would have known it was a dude or a chick, I would be giving it a 9.
You're mad because you cannot identify what it identifies as.
Sometimes you just need to know, man. There's just certain things in life you need to know, right?
Why does it matter if it's mom or dad?
You know what? Just tell me what you rate it, Chase.
Okay, so I'm amazed at this. Anyway, so this movie is easily a 9. Okay. 100%, no doubt in my mind, easily a 9.
For the record, who told you about this movie?
You did.
Okay, go ahead and say it, Chase.
The majority of the time you tell me about this
movie. Go ahead and say it, buddy.
Thanks, Aaron.
You're welcome. That's what I do. There's that sigh again.
Great movie. Love this movie. And I cannot believe, out of all people, since you recommended this movie to me, you're giving it an 8.
Rob Zombie, we're going to need you to remake Exist, and I would probably give it a 9 or a 10. But, I mean, it was a good movie. It was a good movie. I've watched it 3 times, so it's not a bad movie.
How would hold on. Rob Zombie, where did that come from? Are we saying, like, Dr. Satan versus Bigfoot?
You might be onto something there.
Dude, that's 2 things. If he does that, I want some money from that, too.
We're throwing a lot of ideas out there for you guys.
This is solid brainstorming. This is free.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I thought it was a good movie, Chase. I really did. I thought it was a very good Bigfoot movie. Otherwise, I wouldn't really want to spotlight it.
I need you to give me an 8.5 right now.
8.5. Okay. Exist is a solid 8.5.
Thank you. I can't live with the whole 8. That just it hurts my soul.
Well, maybe we should drive down to Rotten Tomatoes and I mean,
I bet they work from home now.
They probably do.
That's what I'm saying. Like, whose house do we go to?
I don't know, but 33% sucks. Like, my 8 is way better than 33%. I'd be really pissed off at Rotten Tomatoes.
Honestly, we should do our own review process, and they should have that for whether or not people go see movies or not.
Yeah, we could talk like rotten tangerines or rotten avocados.
We can think offline. We don't necessarily have to discuss it while we're doing this.
It's true.
Yeah.
Let's get some more T-shirts made.
Yeah, bro.
So once again, guys, Exists.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Movie.
Let us know what you think.
Yep.
Let us know what you rate it.
Yes.
If you rate it a 6, Chase is probably going to call you at home, give you a little talking to. So I'd give it at least an 8.5.
There we go.
So
I'll live with the 7. A little butthurt from it, but I'll live with the 7.
I think it's better than a 7, but to each his own.
But I also think it's better than an 8, but
8.5.
There we go. There it is, 8.5. Love it.
All right, so Exist. Once again, check it out. Leave us a message in the comments what you guys thought. And if you guys hate it, it's Chase's fault.
Don't tell me.
All right, so let's talk about Ape Canyon.
Yeah.
Ape Canyon, for those of you that don't know a whole lot about Bigfoot or maybe are just starting to get into this thing, this phenomenon, because once again, I call it a phenomenon because it's not just a big, giant, hairy man running around the woods. It's not about that. Once you start delving more into Sasquatch,
yep, and
the history of it, there's so much more to it. There's so much UFO activity that comes along with sightings of Sasquatch. Yep. Once again, if you guys watch those shows that we told you to watch, the Discovering Bigfoot and Survivor Man Season 6 Bigfoot, then you'll know what we're talking about. I feel like if people would just kind of open their minds a little bit and be a little more open to seeing maybe outside the box, then I think a lot more people would become interested in Sasquatch like we are.
Oh, yeah.
And once again, too, if you sit in your house and you watch TV all day and you just go to work and that's your life and you never go out in the woods, then Sasquatch is probably not something you're going to think about. But for those of us who do go out into the woods and go camping and hiking and hunting, Sasquatch is something that's always in the back of my mind, and I'm sure with you too, being from 100%. Arkansas with the Falk Monster.
Yep.
That you're kind of always looking around and being like, it could be out there. Could be standing behind you. Could be.
And honestly, it's one of those things where once you start really diving into it and you start thinking about, the possibility of Bigfoot, as it were, you go out in the woods and you camp, pitch black late at night. You got the stars and the moon maybe lighting up stuff, but like you hear a sound and you react a little bit differently than you did before. Once, something like this is in the back of your head, you're like, the what if, I guess. You start thinking, what if that was it?
Yeah.
I mean, given being in Las Vegas, and I don't really concern myself here, but definitely back home where...
You ain't going to see a Sasquatch in the fountains at the Bellagio.
No. I mean,
it's not going to happen.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen.
So about Ape Mountain. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, dude. No, do your thing.
So the story about Ape Mountain took place in 1924. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I can't memorize all this, but there was 5 miners that went up into the Sierra Nevada mountains.
Yep.
And as they were up there, they found a bunch of large footprints. Once again, this is in 1924. This is before the Bigfoot, the crave per se, like in the 70s, and even before Roger Patterson and all them came out with the Bigfoot movie. So they found a bunch of large footprints. They saw a giant 7-foot hairy man by the creek. And I guess one of the miners shot at it because he was scared, and he shot at it. I don't know if he hit him. I wasn't there, but that night they retaliated, and it was a community of Sasquatches, Bigfoot, that attacked their cabin all night long, throwing large rocks. And actually, there was one part where a giant hairy arm came through. I guess the log cabin that they were in, it came through, I don't know if it was a window or just like a gap in between, and tried to grab one of the guys. And it lasted all night long, and these guys were terrified. That is one of the bigger... There's not a lot of cases of Sasquatch being aggressive, first of all. For the most part, they try to get away when people see a Sasquatch, whether they're hiking or whatever.
Dude, I think there's a lot of... So the other part with... I mean, given this was in 1924, there's a lot of accounts... And who's to say who's right? Like, I mean, that's a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
They were throwing from some of the stories it wasn't just rocks. Like some of these were boulder size because it was the cabin sits in a valley, and they were saying that the Sasquatch was throwing it from the top of these like mountain tops or from a distance, and they were getting boulder sized rocks hitting this cabin. And then there was a lot of exchange because they were even saying there was gunfire coming from the miners that were inside. Like it was an exchange that happened throughout the entire night. It wasn't even just like they threw every now and then some rocks. They tried to get in. Like no, it was multiple constant attacks throughout the night.
It was like waves. They said it's like they would go away for a few minutes and then they would come back and like you said, they were actually putting their guns through the
they were shooting through the cracks. Like it's that Western style shootout, if you will. But honestly, man, that's a crazy story.
That's terrifying, dude.
Like I'd be scared.
And they actually have, and you can look it up online. You can find tons of audio from these miners. They call them the Sierra Sounds. That's where it gets a little weird because a couple of the guys are like mimicking the sounds that in the same place. I don't think it's the same miners. Actually, I know I have their names here. It's a guy named Ron Moorhead and Al Berry were the ones that put out the video. I think it's the same area though. I think it's still Ape Canyon, but they get these sounds. I don't really know how to explain them other than they sound kind of like if you watch one of those older samurai movies, like a Japanese samurai movie. Weird, dude. Weird because they can't, the Sasquatch can't like vocalize. They can't say like words. They can't be like, hey, or anything like that. So they make these like vocalizations that sound like a samurai, like weird.
Yeah.
That's really a horrible impression of it. But
I thought it was great.
Yeah, so if you check that out, you can look that up, and it's like I said, it's called the Sierra Sounds.
Oh yeah.
And that's where shit gets really weird because if these things are able to vocalize like that, it's like they're impersonating a human voice. And then, of course, these guys are trying to they'll copy whatever the sound is that's coming out of the
Yeah.
woods. And check it out. Let us know what you think about
Yeah.
that. But Ape Canyon, yeah.
That's crazy, man.
And then you listen to stories of Vietnam.
Yeah.
So once again, like there's Sasquatch type, can't say animals, Sasquatch type things all over the world. Once again, you have the Yowie in Australia, you have the Yeti in Russia, you have the Orang Pendek over in Asia, and then in Vietnam the locals call it the Batutut. Hope I said that right.
Dude,
The Batutut.
in my opinion, you did it a strong amount of justice right
Yeah.
there.
So the soldiers during Vietnam, they were attacked. There was a platoon of these American soldiers that were attacked by a group of these. They called them rock apes. Rock apes.
Yeah.
They were at least 6 feet tall. It was the middle of the night. They were coming back from a patrol, and they were firing off some shots. But they were also being attacked by the Viet Cong at this time. And so they made it back to their camp, but the next morning they asked their general if they could go back out to the area where they were attacked. And when they got out there was Vietnamese soldiers that had been ripped apart. And there was no gunshots, there was no gun wounds, no bullets anywhere. These Viet Cong were literally like ripped apart.
Just tore apart. Dang.
Yeah, and like I said, if you guys want to do more research on it, like I said, they're called... just look up rock apes in Vietnam, and it'll kind of tell you about that. But yeah, there's documentation of that from soldiers in Vietnam. So,
Dude, that's crazy.
yeah,
Crap's nuts, man. I cannot imagine, man. Like that Ape Canyon situation. I mean, it's the same kind of like exist in a way, but like that would be a very crazy scenario to be stuck in. Like,
yeah. And I mean, even that, you want to take it even a step further. Like on Hulu, they have a show called Sasquatch. It's just called Sasquatch, I believe. And it's this one's where it kind of really weird because it's about the marijuana farms in Northern California.
yep.
Where they're finding people that are mutilated and ripped apart as well, and large footprints and stuff. Now, could it be the cartels like making it look like, hey, we want to kind of eliminate some of our competition, we're going to make it look like a Sasquatch came in here and ripped these guys apart? Possibly. Or maybe it is Sasquatch. So if that's something that interests you guys, that's on Hulu. It's just called Sasquatch. It's about the Emerald Triangle. There was 3 men killed in the 90s on that, and that's what it's about. So what do you think
That
about
one's
that?
a little crazy. So that one goes more in depth. They definitely talk about the cartel a lot more within that documentary. They kind of steer away a little bit,
It's not like
which is kind of deceiving because it's like based on what you hear. And could it have been the cartel ripping people apart? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the way they describe it and the way that it was, like the detail they put into it.
kind of smart on the cartel's part. Like,
Honestly, if that's the case,
you can throw off the
like,
cops.
'cause nobody's gonna go looking for Sasquatch. Like, if it murdered somebody, that's a dead end. Like, it is what it is.
yeah, what you can just like walk up to him and just like arrest him, put your hands behind your back.
You're not gonna go after Sasquatch. So, absolutely, if the cartel is using that as a cover, then good on them, dude. Because that's
We may have just given him an idea if it wasn't the cartel.
or we gave somebody else an idea. One of the two. The Battle Mountain complex fire. It's really a mouthful to say, man. So, it happened in 1999. Pretty big fire, honestly, dude. Like, looking into this. And I feel like this is one of them stories where you don't hear about it. You didn't, I mean, unless you were around during that time, it maybe wasn't mainstream news where it was something discussed. So there's a lot that goes into this in regards to Bigfoot. There was a lot of paramedics and stuff that showed up on the scene, firefighters as well. And they were going through the woods. I guess the firefighters were the first to stumble upon Bigfoot. It actually walked out of the fire, like it had all these wounds and stuff on it, cut up, like all that singed hair, and it just sat down on its butt. It came up to where the firefighters were at, had people around him, wasn't really frantic based on the account that I was listening to, and it just sat down and accepted treatment pretty much. Like, it wasn't trying to fight or resist. It wasn't really doing anything.
Really?
Just
So it was like
sat there.
cooperating, huh?
It cooperated completely. It just sat down and let them do what they like. And instantly, so the part that gets me about this is as a paramedic, as a firefighter, one, you're shocked because maybe something you had heard about and something you had seen on Discovery Channel, this, that, and the other. Like, it just went from never hardly seen or seen on, videos to it's sitting right in front of you and you're about to
reality
work on it. And it's right there in your face. So anyway, the guy that gives all this information, the person that, called in and gave this to a reporter, who knows who this person's name is, he worked for a government agency that he was like, I think the world should know about this. And there's multiple accounts, so it's not just this one. This is the one that I was listening to. I guess he called collect call and gave this whole story for like 70 minutes on the phone. So he paid for this phone call to get this story out and tell all the details.
I mean, that's a pretty big detail right
Dude,
there. That
massive.
somebody would actually be willing to use their own money to tell this story instead of vice versa, where they're trying to get paid to tell this story.
So, and this guy gets no benefit from this, right? So, like, even if it goes, worldwide, it goes on the internet, like, everybody can find this story, he gets nothing out of it other than relaying the information of what actually happened. So, to get back to what I was talking about is he was like, I was there, it sat down, it was accepting treatment, and then he starts to go into the details of Bigfoot itself. So he said that the head of the Sasquatch was 2 times the size of a human head. The hands, same thing, it's like, 2-3 times the size. It had hair on the outside, just like you see in the videos, like hair on the outside of the hand and then nothing on the palms and the fingers. And it was a male, for those who want to know, like it
That's
always
important.
happens. It always comes up, right? So
He had a penis.
Had a penis.
I don't know what you guys call that, but in my world, that's a dude.
And the most awkward thing about this video is they had to say it like 4 times. Like he had a penis. Like, how many times do you need to say it's a male? We get it the first time. Like, he is a male. Cool, thanks. Anyway, not important.
Kind of important.
A little bit. Anyway, so they spent like 3 hours, and obviously Sasquatch can't communicate, so it can't say what's wrong, but it would communicate through like moans and groans, like if something hurt. So these firefighters and paramedics are touching to see where they need to help or what they need to, apply like bandages to and all that stuff. And they did this for about 3 hours, and then I guess they came up with the plan that, okay, how are we going to transport to get, more medical help if it needs it?
Yeah.
So they're like, if we have an ambulance leave here with it, it's going to attract attention. They're going to think a firefighter got hurt, a paramedic got hurt, something along those lines. Instead, they put it in the back of a van. And the van leaves the scene and goes, to this day, they don't know where it went. There was no film. There was no pictures taken. There was nothing. They just left. That way it wouldn't be, a hot commodity leaving, because I'm sure you got news stations that are sitting outside like, what's going on. It's just a random van leaving the scene. They did put it on a stretcher, or one of the paramedic stretcher things, and they were saying the feet would hang over. They couldn't put up the hand railings on the side because it was too wide. Dude, it's just nuts. To me, the part that's crazy about this, and not really crazy, but is the Sasquatch willing to just sit there and let humans interact with it and then not react, not fight you, there was never a hostile moment. There was never a moment where it seemed like apparently that it was going to defend itself.
Yeah, but that happens with wild animals too. I've seen numerous videos where like a ferocious dog or something like that, a wild animal, not tame by any means,
Yeah.
and usually one that'll attack humans, when they're hurt, they will just kind of cooperate. I mean, it is weird, but at the same time, I don't think it's that far-fetched. And especially if they're human-like. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, when a human's hurt, or a human's even sick,
Yep.
they want help. They, if you're going to do something to make them feel better, then more than likely they're going to cooperate. So, and they're intelligent, dude. Let's just be honest. They're intelligent.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they're not intelligent, but to me, based on the interaction, if this story is true, which, right, I want to think it is, and this account was very detailed, it was very thorough, there was nothing within his story that made me say, like, okay, that seems kind of weird. And he went on to say, like, the government is covering this up. Like, this is a complete government cover-up. Like, they won't talk about it. And we were all told, like, the paramedics, the firefighters, and they had actually, I forgot to mention, they had a veterinarian that was on scene as well. And they were all sworn to secrecy. Like, you're not to discuss what happened. Like, you're not to talk about this in any form or fashion.
And I remember either watching a documentary or reading an article along that same line. I don't know if it's the same fire, but it was during Mount St. Helens eruption.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure if that's the same time frame, but okay, so this is where stuff gets really crazy, guys. So according to, there was 3 different men from the military.
Yep.
Now, I can't remember exactly which branches they were, but they were not all the same branch of the military. I know there was Marines involved. I know there was one guy who was in the Navy, and I want to say the third one was Air Force, but don't quote me on that because it's been a while since I read this documentary. But so they were all called in. I know one of them came from San Antonio, from the Air Force base there, and they were called in to help with search and rescue from Mount St. Helens when it erupted. I want to say in the 90s. Anyway.
I think you're right, dude, off the top of my head.
I want to say it was like 1999. But anyway, so they were called in to help with search and rescue. And so 2 of the guys, okay, these guys don't know each other. And they came forth with their stories years and years later. And all 3 stories collaborated with each other without the 3 of them discussing it amongst themselves. So this wasn't something that was pre-planned. This is literally 3 guys telling the same story of something that happened, and they were all identical stories. So in my mind, that legitimizes that it probably happened.
Yep.
Okay? Okay, so to kind of elaborate on that a little bit more. So 2 of the guys got assigned to guard duty of this giant medical tent that was set up for the military to bring in individuals or even animals that were affected by the volcano eruption. So you're talking about fires, you're talking about lava. I've never been in a volcano, but I've seen movies. So I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that was affected by this volcano erupting. So 2 of the guys get stationed guard duty of this medical tent. And then the 3rd guy was put on a truck, a flatbed truck. Okay, this, like I said, this is where shit gets crazy. So according to the soldier that was working the truck, he said a military personnel came out that was able to communicate with a Sasquatch. And it was not a captive Sasquatch. It wasn't tied up. It wasn't in chains. This was a Sasquatch that willingly walked and got onto the truck with this said military soldier, and for some reason this guy was able to communicate with this Sasquatch.
That's interesting.
And this Sasquatch led them. Look it up, guys. There's documentation. There's reports of this. This Sasquatch led them to different areas where there were communities of Sasquatches, and the soldiers would literally go there to these caves and these wooded areas that are burned from, that are on fire from this volcano. And the Sasquatch would lead them to these areas, and then they would load the injured Sasquatches onto this truck, this flatbed truck, and then they would take them to this medical tent where these 2 other soldiers physically saw them bring giant hairy men into the tent to treat them.
Yeah.
Okay, let that sink in for a minute, okay? That's a pretty big deal. If the military, and once again, I don't trust the damn military, they're just now coming forward and admitting UFOs exist.
That's
that we've covered on. So once again, but why would these 3 soldiers come forward with the same stories if it didn't happen?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is a super far-fetched story. Like this seems like something that would happen in a movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once again, all 3 of their stories collaborated with each other. And to me, that's crazy that number one, the military actually had a Sasquatch that they had cooperating with them, that they were able to communicate with, that literally knew where all these communities of Sasquatches were. And then, like I said, what happened to the Sasquatches once they were treated? Did they just re-release them into the wild, or does the military have a freaking army of Sasquatches that are like, hey, thanks for patching me up and making me feel better. What do you want me to do in return? Well, we want you to be, a soldier. You're now enlisted in the United States Navy or whatever.
Yeah, bro. It's called Operation Furball.
Operation Furball. But like I said, dude,
yeah.
That's crazy. And for those of you that sit out there and just once again like to make fun of the whole idea of Bigfoots existing and Sasquatches, once again, when you hear stuff about it like this,
I mean, this shouldn't. To me, this shouldn't surprise people. Like, not to interrupt what you're saying, because same thing like you were saying. Like, look at the UFO phenomenon. Look at how that's come to the front. Because finally, there was enough evidence, there was enough stuff to where, like, okay, what is going on?
Yeah, we can't cover this up anymore.
Like, there's only so much, when there's so much evidence that's being put out, there's only a matter of time before the Pentagon was like, all right, cat's out of the bag, like,
yeah,
UFOs exist.
Yeah.
And to me, it still did not get the reaction I expected out of that one. Well, to be talked about maybe more, but...
Yeah, but look at all the crap going on in the world that overshadows that. I mean, once again, freaking Afghanistan and the freaking terrorists are at it again, and then Joe Biden's just such an idiot. I will say that. Like, just... Man, I'm so sick and tired of, like, the news...
Aaron, are we gonna have a rant? Because
what's going on?
Is this the rant, bro? Are we doing this right now?
Yeah, you know how it is, dude. You know how it is. But no, there's so many things that are overshadowing.
Yeah.
And once again, the timing.
Yeah.
It's always bad timing when all of these high-ranking officers and people in the government were starting to get in trouble for child porn. What happened? It magically just disappeared all of a sudden because something came to overshadow that. And if you guys can't freaking see that, you're freaking blind. Every time there is somebody or something that's major that happens in the world, something conveniently always comes along to overshadow that, So I won't go too much into that. But once again, the fact that UFOs are being acknowledged that they exist by the government, and not just the United States government, from every government, okay? Russia, China, everybody is saying, like, look, these things don't belong to us.
I mean,
we don't know where they're from.
There's other countries that are acknowledging the existence of Bigfoot, and we're not on that necessarily. So
in Canada, they actually made it to where 100%. Canada, like, protects Sasquatch.
Yes,
like,
they are
kind of like we do with bald eagles in the United States. You shoot a Sasquatch in Canada, you're in a lot of freaking trouble.
Honestly, but you're gonna get rich maybe at the same time. I don't know. If you can kill it and like bring it in, like, I'm sure it's like you're probably still gonna get something for it. Anyway,
you're gonna be famous for sure. But
anyway, yeah, man. So, do you feel better?
I do. Anytime I can talk about how
happier, dude. You look a little happier now.
Anytime I can talk about how dumb Joe Biden is, like.
So there's a lot of things happening in the world. There's a lot of unfortunate circumstances that come up, and sometimes things that, given this is not a big deal, right? So if Sasquatch is real, in comparison to everything happening right now and everything that's not talked about behind the scenes, it's really not that big of a deal. But for the sake of entertainment and for the sake of things that, Aaron and myself find to be real, whether or not we've seen it, whether or not we've experienced it, we're going to talk about it because it distracts us from all the other terrible things happening.
Yeah. And if the rest of the world doesn't want to acknowledge that UFOs are, once again, the government says they exist, if nobody else is going to talk about it, we'll talk about it. If nobody else wants to believe in Bigfoot, we can talk about it and believe in it. So
I just want to say it's a concern to Homeland Security.
Yeah, that's true. That, once again, government's words, not ours.
Because they do not have an answer for if aliens are real and if they decided to take over. So
once again, guys, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the oceans on planet Earth.
Facts.
Let that sink in. There's literally things that could be in the ocean here. There could be cities of UFOs under the water that we don't know about because we're too busy trying to figure out why plants don't grow on the moon.
Hey, Aaron. Yeah. Let's bring it back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Talking about
Bigfoot. No aliens. No ET phone home. We just have Harry and the Hendersons.
But you have the UFO sightings at the same time as Bigfoot, too. So they kind of do tie together a little bit.
Dude, and that's... So, like I said, it's just unfortunate. There's a lot of other things that go on. And, like... It just... Things like this get put to the back burner. And who knows? Like, hopefully one day Bigfoot is actually discovered, brought in, and everybody can see. And then this channel doesn't look so maybe goofy, if you will, if you think that that's goofy to believe in, because to me, I don't think it's so far-fetched.
Do you want that to happen? Like, do you?
I really do.
In your lifetime, would you like to see one just to know for sure?
Yeah. Even if I only see it for myself, because if I have a first-hand account, there's nothing you can tell me that's going to change my mind. And I feel that way now, regardless of the fact I haven't seen it. So
but at the same time, don't you feel like the fact that it is such a mystery, and because it's been a mystery for so long, like, that's what makes it so intriguing and so... I'm with you. I'm kind of sitting on the fence. Like, I would like to see one before I die and know that they exist, and that I didn't, like, talking about Sasquatch all these years wasn't a waste of time.
I would be way more of an enthusiast if I had actually seen one.
Yeah, but I don't want to see it.
Even worse.
I don't want to see it in, like, a cage or anything.
Oh,
like
no,
that.
No.
I mean, if the military has some that,
definitely
like,
meant in the wild,
are walking around that are part of the military, I'd like to see that. You know, instead of like somebody capturing one out of the wild.
Right back to Operation Furball, just like that. That was quick.
I actually have some footage or some audio of Sasquatch. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll play that.
Well, I'm
you want to hear some of that?
So let's just play it. Yeah, let's get it.
Okay, so this is so for those of you who don't know what a Sasquatch might sound like, once again, they don't talk like me and Chase do. They make noises. They do a lot of wood knocking. They'll knock. They believe that that's how they communicate with each other. When they're, you know, scattered out in the woods or whatever, they'll knock on trees with wood, and then they make like yelps and
dude, some of these
howls.
Anyway, some of these sounds are
so let's play that. What do you think? You think that's a monkey?
No, I don't. Well, I guess maybe. Anyway, wow, that was a hard question, dude. Like, you got me with that one. Like, there's some people that would be on the fence about that. Like, that could go either way.
I mean, that was filmed in Oregon, I believe. I'm pretty sure there's not a bunch of chimpanzees and orangutans
so
wandering
people that
around.
want to say it's something else. My question is, because you hear the projection with how loud that is. I cannot imagine any other creature making a sound that loud. And don't you dare say an owl, because there's no way
that's not an owl.
That's an owl.
That's clearly
You've never been in the woods if you think that's an owl. Sorry, not to cut you off, but for real.
That's clearly a primate sound.
Yeah.
Primates make those yelps like that. No other animals do that.
Unless George, the gorilla, escaped from the Oregon Zoo.
Possible, but...
Not likely. Not likely.
And then I have an actual 911 call. That was called in.
Recorded.
This is actually a pretty popular recording, so I'll go ahead and play that for you, for those of you who haven't heard it.
This is great.
911, what are you reporting? We got someone or something crawling around out here. Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal, or? I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on, and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man, or something that looks like a man. I don't know what it was, just that it ran across the yard. Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before? Yeah, my dog was killed here just recently. I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's running. I couldn't catch it if I was going to chase it. So whatever it was standing up. I'm out here looking through the window now, and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better... Sure? Tia! Hello? Get somebody out here. What's going on now, sir? That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know. Do you see him now, sir? Yes, I'm looking right at him. Uh-oh. Okay, hang on. He's right... Is he in your yard, sir? Yeah, God, he's big. Okay, what's he doing in your yard? He's looking at me. Oh, and the guy is on foot. I don't know what... It's a big, real big person. That's all I can say. Okay, but it is a person. Yeah, I'd say it was a person. Somebody really big. But he's all in black. Is he a black male or a white male? Did you actually see with it, or was he just wearing black? He's all black and he's big. He is big.
Pretty interesting.
That's crazy, man. That was super crazy.
I don't see how a grown-ass man would call 911 if there was just like some homeless dude wandering around in his backyard.
So not even so you take in, and I'm just basing it off how the gentleman sounds in the recording. Not even necessarily a grown ass person, but you look at, he sounds like he's an elderly gentleman. He's not
experienced, probably.
He's seasoned. He has no reason to go. He has no reason to call 911 and make up some crazy elaborate story about, oh, I think Sasquatch is in my yard. Because not once do you hear the elderly gentleman refer to what's in his yard as a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. He thinks it's a man, but he does not say anything else. That's it.
And where's his incentive? What is he going to benefit from that?
And I don't know about you, dude, but how many 6'9" people do you see walking around typically?
I have a coworker who's 6'8".
That's not 6'9".
Let me tell you, but I'm just saying, like, if you haven't been standing next to somebody who is even bigger than 6'6", 6'8" is tall. I feel like a little kid next to this guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he said 6'9". And once again, that's kind of the thing too that I've always wondered. Like when people see a Sasquatch, they're like, oh, it was 10 feet tall. It was 8 feet tall, and it's kind of like from a distance. You know what I mean? All I can know is it's way bigger than a person. You know what I mean? So I kind of hate that they're like, he said 6'9". Yeah. Like, would you break out your measuring tape?
Honestly, and so like, not to say that's an exact
just say it's freaking huge.
Like, I think he was just trying to give a reference point, though. So
True.
if you think 6'9", because if you're just trying to be descriptive, like, you're probably wrong. You're probably lowballing it at best. Yeah. So realistically, this thing may be 7 foot to 7.5 feet tall,
or even 8 foot,
if not taller.
Yeah.
So that's nuts, dude. And I cannot imagine sitting on the phone staring at this thing as it's staring back at me, and then not realizing what I'm looking at.
And not to include the fact that you make a prank call or you joke with 911, you can get charges for that. Like that's actually a crime. You cannot do that.
And I wonder if this guy figured out how his dog died with the 6'9" thing standing in his yard.
I know. I kind of wish there was like that's the only thing I could find from that.
Yeah, follow up.
I kind of wish there was like a follow up video on it.
That's the first time.
But you could hear it in his voice. Nuts. This dude was really, really uncomfortable and actually
he was scared.
At one
like
point.
He literally, you heard the fear hit the second he saw it, and it was looking back at him. Like you heard the fear hit. He was like, I don't want to go outside.
And once again, you watch any interview of anybody who has encountered a Sasquatch. It doesn't matter if it's a kid, if it's a woman, or a freaking a lumberjack who grew up in the woods and spends every single day of his life in the woods. They are all traumatized and terrified when they see a Sasquatch. So, explain that. I mean, once again, you see something that's 10 feet tall, 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall, and just huge. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about something that's 500, 600 pounds. If you've ever seen like a 500-pound person, how big they are compared to like, it just doesn't look normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. So, and that reminds me, so like, you think of the people that have seen it. So, there's a YouTube video out there, this guy in Oregon, him and his family. It's his wife, and I want to say his 2 or 3 kids, and I'm just summarizing the story overall. So, they went for a hike on a trail next to like some cave or whatever. So they just went for a little family hike, and they had done this on the regular. He's an outdoorsman, like he does this all the time. So he was a person that loved the great outdoors. So they went on this hike. They get up to this point where, as they're going, they could hear something kind of paralleling them in the woods. Like they could hear something kind of ho ho ho, like pacing them, and then they would stop, and the sound would stop. And then they would pick up again and get going, and it would do it again. And then finally it got to a point where it just stopped, and they would look down in there, they didn't see anything. So they kept going for a little bit, and they stopped at some little stop point because the kids wanted the rest, the wife wanted to take a break. So he went to go take a pee behind a tree.
The dad, right?
Yeah, so he went a little further down to go take a pee behind a tree, and he takes a pee, and as he's about to start walking back, he looks down, because his family's back up here, and he looks down here, and his exact words were, that's when Bigfoot jumped off the page of stuff from stories and right into reality. Yeah. And literally, he was like, I was so scared, I could not move.
I remember hearing about this.
So he looks at him, and the Bigfoot is staring at his wife and kids up on the hill. Not looking at him, looking at his wife and kids, and then he turns and looks at him, and then back at his family. talk about something that would scare the living daylights out of me,
Yeah.
that would definitely be it.
And
And literally, he was crying when he told the story because he's like, this terrifies me to the core. And he was like,
Yeah.
I don't even love the great outdoors anymore because.
Yeah, and he like ran to his family. He's
Yep.
like, "We have to go now," and they sprinted out of that area
Yeah.
because he was so scared. He didn't know what that.
Well, he was hasty, so they didn't understand, and he told them, he's like, we got to go now. He was like, and the wife, I guess, was trying to say, but we want to keep going. No, we're leaving. We're going now.
Yeah. And he didn't even want to tell him what it was because he knew that it was going to freak him out. But he was freaked out.
Dude, that would freak me out.
Yeah.
Like, having a family, like, if that had been, like, I don't even know how, like, no,
It's
crazy.
terrifying, dude.
And then, so, sorry, to finish this story, as they're getting to the end, because they're almost at a run, he tells the wife, take the kids, and no matter what you hear, no matter what happens, keep going. Nothing happened to the gentleman, but he was like, if something's going to happen, like, it's not going to happen to my wife and kids.
Yeah, take
like,
one for the team.
I will take one for the team. Like, that's not going to happen.
That's a good dad right there.
That's 100%, because I'm not going to lie, that sounds brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you take a story like that, and this guy was, so it's funny you say your coworker's 6'8". This guy was like, I think he's like 6'5".
This is a
Big dude. He was like almost 300 pounds, 6'5". He's not your short little, like, he was a big guy.
Yeah.
And this dwarfed him from what he said.
Yeah. You feel super vulnerable.
Oh yeah, dude.
And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of stories.
Oh, yeah.
You want to delve into the Sasquatch phenomenon once again, like just hop online and you'll find hundreds of thousands of stories. And that's what I mean. Like, I think that's why when it comes to talking about Sasquatch, I get a little more serious.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be treated serious. Are there a lot of hoaxes? Absolutely. Are there a lot of people out there that make fun of it and just think it's ridiculous? Yeah.
So it's funny. When Aaron and I look up videos and when we've talked about Bigfoot in the past, we can dive into a Bigfoot video and tell you whether it's a hoax, whether it looks fake, or whether we're like, nope. Because we'll be the first to tell you, like,
yeah, it's fake.
we can look at a video and tell you, like, that's not real. Like,
Yeah.
you can tell the hoax from what may be more authentic than the others. Not to say, I mean, they could be hoax, we could be wrong, but there's ones that are so far, like, too far to be real, like, obvious.
Just ridiculous.
Or people that are just looking for attention. Like, there was one recently where you could obviously tell it was an owl making a hoot sound. And he was like, in his description, he was like, Bigfoot.
Yeah, we both looked at each other and we're like, that's a freaking owl. Come on,
I know an owl when
moron.
I hear one. That was an owl.
And that's why people don't take it seriously, is because there's somebody that's like, oh, that's a freaking Bigfoot. Dude, remember the one we watched where it was a cow?
Yeah,
it was clearly a freaking
cow. Yeah.
He's like, oh my god, what was that? You never heard a cow?
He's like, I only had an audio record. Anyway, whatever.
Lord. Yeah, so for those of you that are taking it seriously, like Les Stroud, Survivor Man, and Todd Standing, you know what? You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up, because I really believe that both of you are onto something.
Oh, yeah.
And especially Todd Standing, I know he gets a lot of ridicule from people. A lot of people believe that he's just doing it for publicity and for money. I don't believe that myself personally.
No.
But I definitely think he's onto something. So don't get intimidated by that, man.
And I think it's because of how extreme he is, right? So
for sure.
And you got to think of it from a standpoint of, if you have seen Bigfoot, if this is something that's real in your life, you're a little extreme about it, right? So anything that you have passion about, you're going to be a little extreme. Does he take it too far? It's up for debate, maybe. But everything he's put out there, if that's real, that's mind-blowingly
that's
real.
next level, bro.
That is
that's
like,
next level
he
shit.
has done what nobody else has done to this point. So definitely, if it's, dude, keep it up.
Yeah,
Love
stay up, man, and keep going. And same thing with Survivor Man. I'm probably Survivor Man's biggest fan. Honestly, I'll throw that out there. Like, that dude is just so amazing to me. The things that he does, and he does it by himself.
Yeah.
So same thing. If you want to go back to that Bigfoot stuff too, Les Stroud, freaking keep it up, man. Because like I said, that's what we need for people to take Bigfoot seriously. Is we need guys like that to be serious about it as well and stay on.
So here's what needs to happen. Todd Standing, get a hold of Survivor Man, and repeat what you did with discovering Bigfoot.
Yeah.
If you really want to make a reputable video, if you want to make a reputable account, get Survivor Man to go with you, give him that same experience, document it, put it on film, and then release that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really the only way to get the monkey off your back, if you will,
Yeah.
in the sense of legitimizing this,
Like I said, they're both onto something, man.
No, for
honestly.
sure. Nope, they are. They're at the top of their game, for sure.
Yeah. So once again, this was a long episode.
Has to be.
But at the same time, like,
Sorry, not
it kind of had to be because there was so much content that we wanted to cover, and because it's something that me and Chase really, I guess I don't really like to use the word passionate about, but it is something that we are super interested in.
I would say passionate, bro.
Yeah, I guess passionate.
Because we will
passionate.
debate with people to the end on this one.
Yeah.
And we don't pull punches as far as that, so.
You know those little memes you see where people are like, such and such changed my mind?
Yeah.
I feel like, at this point, people could just try to talk to me about Bigfoot, and I'd be like, changed my mind. Because I feel confident enough in the research and the stuff that I've read to where I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, 100%.
So anyways, once again, shout out to Les Stroud, Todd Standing.
Killing it.
We'll put in the description below
Yes.
the shows that we were telling you again. If you're interested in the Bigfoot phenomenon, we'll put that in the description below.
I like to call it movement. Sorry, it's just
A Bigfoot movement.
I like to call it the movement, dude. It just sounds so more like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. So once again, we appreciate your guys' support. Please
Always.
like, share, and
Subscribe. I'm here for you, dude. I'm just
brain
here to
farting over here.
Gosh,
Yeah. So anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Awesome, guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.